Hola, ¿qué tal, amigos? Aquí estamos otra vez con Profesor Pablo. Hello, friends. Here we are again with Profesor Pablo. And our lesson is question words 2. We have a little asterisk here in Spanish, asterisco. Asterisco. We have an asterisk because we have our question words, our traditional question words here. And we have 3 phrases that we want to teach as well. Okay? Now, we see the cluster box for each because they're related to each other. Again, that's what the brain does with similar information. It clusters it together. We have de quien and de quienes. Remember, all interrogative question words have accent marks. Every single interrogative word has an accent mark. Why? To tell us that it's being used as a question, because it can be used not as a question as well. So here we go. De quien. W-H-O-S-E, whose? Like if I want to say, whose car is it? I would say, ¿de quién es el carro? ¿De quién es el auto? ¿De quién es el vehículo? Right? Whose house is it? ¿De quién es la casa? Whose house? You say, somebody says, it's John's. Es de Juan. It belongs to John. Es de Juan. And you say, whose? ¿De quién? When you're referring to one person, you're going to go with quién. When you're referring to 2 or more people, it would be de quienes, okay? Let's say there are 5 backpacks on the ground, and obviously they don't belong to one person. And so you'd say, de quienes son las mochilas? Whose are the backpacks? W-H-O-S-E. Whose are the backpacks? De quienes son las mochilas? So there are 2 ways of saying whose. There's de quien if you're talking about one person, de quienes if you're talking about 2 or more people. Cuál and cuáles both mean which. But again, cuál is which. When you're talking about something singular, cuáles is which, like which ones, when you're talking about something plural. If I have a bunch of photographs that I'm giving away, and I want to say to someone, which one do you want? ¿Cuál quiere? ¿Cuál quiere, señor? Which one do you want, sir? ¿Cuál foto quiere, señor? ¿Cuál quiere? Which one do you want? But if I'm giving away 2 for every person, I would say, which ones do you want? I would say, ¿cuáles? ¿Cuáles fotos quieres? He points to a couple, and I'm not sure, and I say, which ones? ¿Cuáles? ¿Cuáles? Clarify. Which one? ¿Cuál? ¿Cuál can be which one, or just simply which with the rest of the sentence, like, ¿cuál de las fotos quiere? Which of the photos do you want? ¿Cuál de los libros prefiere usted? Which of the books do you prefer? So ¿cuál is which, or which one? ¿Cuáles is which, or which ones? Bounce over here to cuánto, cuánta, cuántos, and cuántas. We've seen this before. The ending of the word O, ending in A, ending in OS, ending in AS. Remember, buenos dias with an OS. Buenas noches, buenas tardes. Well, a big thing in Spanish is adjective and noun agreement. Some words have to agree to what they're referring to. When you say cuánto, it means how much, and cuánta means how much. But they've got to be singular. If I'm talking about money and somebody says $500, $500, and I say, ¿cuánto? ¿Cuánto? How much? $500. ¿Cuánto? ¿Cuánto dinero? Now, dólares is plural. I'm not saying how many dollars. That would be ¿cuántos dólares? But I'm referring to dinero. ¿Cuánto dinero? How much? ¿Cuánto? ¿Cuánto? Someone says, Pablo, necesito que me preste dinero. I need you to lend me some money. And I say, okay, está bien. ¿Cuánto? Because I'm referring back to dinero. Let's say I go down to the meat shop and I want to buy some carne asada. We're going to have some carne asada for dinner. And the butcher, carnicero, a guy, the butcher, he says to me, ¿cuánta quiere? How much do you want? He says, ¿cuánta? Because he is referring to la carne asada, which is feminine and singular. So ¿cuánto is how much? And cuánta is how much. You say cuánto if what you're referring to is masculine and singular, and you say cuánta if what you're referring to is feminine and singular. Now, to say how many, it's either cuántos, OS, or cuántas. ¿Cuántos? ¿Cuántas? Somebody says he needs to borrow 5 books from you. And you say, ¿Cuántos libros? How many books? ¿Cuántos? How many? ¿Cuántos? ¿Cuántos? Someone says he just sold a bunch of houses, a real estate broker, had a good day. I guess a good week, I don't know, a good month. And he sold 20 houses. And the guy incredulously says, ¿Cuántas? ¿Cuántas casas vendió usted? How many houses did you sell? ¿Cuántas? So if somebody needs something, right? Let's say a teacher's buying backpacks for her first graders, and the vendor says, ¿Cuántas quiere? Because she's referring to mochilas, which is backpacks, feminine plural. ¿Cuántas quiere? How many do you want? Libros, teacher buying books. How many do you want? ¿Cuántos quiere? ¿Cuántos quiere? Dinero, ¿cuánto? How much? Carne, ¿cuánta? How many houses does he own? ¿Cuántas casas posee él? ¿Cuántas casas? So cuánto and cuánto are how much. Cuántos and cuántas are how many. We come up to the top. ¿Para qué? What for? ¿Para qué? Pues ¿para qué? Well, what for? ¿Para qué? You're going to do this, blah, blah, blah. ¿Para qué? What for? What's the purpose? ¿Para qué? ¿Para qué? What's the purpose? ¿Para qué? ¿Para qué? Now, here are the 3 phrases that we mentioned before. One is como se dice, which means how do you say it. Como se escribe, how do you write it. And como se deletrea, how do you spell it. Technically, we should have a question mark in front and a question mark here at the end. Como se dice, we learned that como means how in a question. Como se dice, how do you say it. Como se escribe, how do you write it. And como se deletrea, how do you spell it. I really like this word deletrea. Our first lesson was the alphabet and the sound system, and we know how to spell, don't we? We have here D, E, L, E, T, R, E, A. Deletrea. Como se deletrea? All right, let's go over our question words again. We've got whose, W-H-O-S-E, de quién, like whose is it? De quién es, whose is it? De quién es. Whose are they? De quiénes son, whose are they? And if you just want to ascertain to whom something belongs, you say de quién, whose? De quiénes, whose? Cuál and cuáles mean which. Cuál can mean which one. Cuáles can mean which ones. For example, which books do you want? ¿Cuáles libros quieres? Which photos do you want? ¿Cuáles fotos quieres? ¿Cuál de las casas quiere comprar? Which of the houses do you want to buy? You say to your wife. ¿Cuál, or husband, cuál de las casas quiere comprar? ¿Cómo se dice? How do you say it? ¿Cómo se escribe? How do you write it? And ¿cómo se deletrea? How do you spell it? And again, how much? ¿Cuánto and cuánta? How many? ¿Cuántos and cuántas? Ay, Dios mío. What for? ¿Para qué? ¿Para qué? So we have ¿para qué? What for? ¿De quién or de quiénes? Whose? ¿Cómo se dice? How do you say it? ¿Cómo se escribe? How do you write it? And ¿cómo se deletrea? How do you spell it? ¿Cómo se deletrea? ¿Cómo se deletrea? How do you spell it? We have how much? ¿Cuánto and cuánta? We have how many? ¿Cuántos and cuántas? And we have again, ¿cuál which? ¿Cuál es which? ¿Cuál which one? Or ¿cuáles which ones? So there you go. These are our question words and the asterisk. El asterisco indicates we have some phrases here. And again, these are questions, so you would have a question mark at the end and a question mark in front. Okay? All right. That'll do it for question words number 2. This is lesson number 5, and I want to thank you again for being here. Gracias por acompañarme aquí con nuestras lecciones de español. Thanks for accompanying me with our Spanish lessons. Hasta la próxima lección. This is Profesor Pablo saying, hasta luego, hasta mañana, tengan un buen día, adiós, chao, gracias.